Welcome to the Video Professor's Computer Learning Series on CD-ROM. This is the same great lesson that is found on our videotapes. This CD lesson window will always play on top of any application, so you can follow along step by step to learn the program. We have packed this CD with information, and sometimes move at a pace that is faster than you'll be able to follow along with. To help you with this, we have designed the CD to work just like a VCR. You can pause, rewind, or fast forward the CD to learn each part just by clicking the appropriate buttons. From the Table of Contents menu, you can select or review any part of this lesson instantly. For your convenience, a Video Professor icon has been added to your desktop. To view this or future lessons, simply put the CD in your drive and click on this icon to start that lesson. Now, to get started, simply click on the menu item you want to learn. For best results, we suggest you start at the first item and work your way through to the end. And welcome to my second lesson on Works version 4.0 for Windows. This lesson builds on the database skills taught in my first Works lesson, plus teaches you how to build an effective Works spreadsheet. In my first lesson on Works 4.0, we created a business form letter. In the process of creating this letter, we learned basic word processing skills such as entering, editing, and formatting text. We also learned how to work with word art and clip art images. In addition to those skills, we learned how to create and use a database. In the end, we merged the database information with a form letter to create a series of personalized letters. If you haven't already worked through my Learning Works 4.0 for Windows lesson, I suggest you do so before going any further. In this lesson, we will learn such advanced database skills as inserting and formatting fields. In addition, we'll learn how to perform sorts and apply database filters. We'll also create a database report. When we finish our database work, we will build a work spreadsheet. We'll learn how to enter labels, create formulas, use functions, and apply formats. Before we go any further, I'd like to introduce Suzanne, my student helper for this lesson. Simply follow along with her and you'll master these database and spreadsheet skills in no time. At this point, I'm going to assume you have your computer up and running and that you have Works 4.0 open and active on screen. If you haven't done this, stop the lesson and do so at this time. Suzanne, we're going to build on the database table created in my first Works lesson, so insert the disk from that lesson into your system's floppy drive. Now click on the Existing Documents tab that appears on the Works Task Launcher. In the document window, click on the database file named Soccer Database. Now click on OK. This not only opens the file, but launches the Works application that produced it. Viewers, if you saved the file in the first lesson, but do not see it listed in the document file window, click on the Open a File Not Listed Here button, shown at the bottom left of the dialog box. This will open the directory file manager from which you can locate the Soccer database file. If you do not have this database file, you will need to create it now. On screen are the fields and records needed to create the customer database built in the first lesson. Please refer to my first Works for Windows tape for detailed instructions on how to create this database. The Soccer database file should open to the database list view. That's the view that looks like a spreadsheet. If the file opens in the form view, click on the List View button. If the application and document windows aren't full size, use the sizing buttons to maximize them. With that done, let's continue our journey through Works by learning more about its database capabilities. Suzanne, currently our database contains fields and information needed for the mail merge performed in my first lesson. Let's help the director of the soccer league by expanding the database to include an account list, a fees field, and a few more records. Suzanne, click on the first data field header. If necessary, use the scroll bar along the bottom of the database to bring this column into view. Now pull down the record menu, Suzanne, and select Insert Field, and then select Before. In the field name box, type the letters ACCT, follow it with a period, a space, and then the number symbol, which is Shift plus the number 3 key. Click on the Add button, and then Done. This new field will be used to record each parent's membership account number. Before we enter those account numbers, let's add one more data field. Suzanne, scroll right and click on the data field header titled Phone. Now pull down the Record menu and click on Insert Field and then on After. Now type the word Fees in the field name box. Once done, click on the Add button and then on Done. Before we enter data into our two new fields, let's add a couple of new records. First, select the fourth row in the second field. Now type a capital M, a small r, and a period in the Salutations field. Press your Tab key, then enter Tom with a capital T in the first name field. Tab to the last name field and type in Tom's last name, Willis. When you finish that, tab to the street address field and enter West Street. Press your Tab key. Tom's city, state, and zip are the same as Mr. Sullivan's, so let's copy those entries into this record. First, click and drag from Denver to the zip code 80214. Now, click on the Copy button on the toolbar. It has a picture of two small documents on it. With that information on the Windows clipboard, select the fourth cell in the city field, then click on the Paste button. It has a picture of a small clipboard on it. Look, with just a couple of mouse moves, we have completed 3 more field entries. Using the copy and paste method is a very quick and simple way to duplicate data between records. With that done, scroll the Child field into View and enter Brandon. Then tab to the Phone field and enter 111-1234. With that done, use your horizontal scroll bar to bring the Mr./Ms. column into view. Within this field's 5th record, type the letters M, S, and then add a period. Tab over to the first name column and type Danielle. Then type Donahue for the last name. Then under the street field, type Longstreet. Tab again and type Arvada. With that done, enter Colorado for the state, and under the zip field, type 80228. Then enter Axel for the child field and 114321 for the phone number. Suzanne, let's change our view of the database so we can see more of it. Pull down the View menu and then select the Zoom command. Now make sure the Custom option is toggled on and enter 80% into its entry box. Click on OK. In the first cell under the account number field, type the number 1 and press Enter. That's it. Now click on this cell and drag the pointer down to the 5th row. With that area highlighted, pull down the Edit menu and click on the Fill Series command. Suzanne, this dialog box allows us to tell Works to automatically enter a series of numbers or dates. In the Field Series dialog box, the number option is highlighted. This is because Works read the information in the first cell and decided we needed a series of numbers. Everyone make sure the Step By box currently displays the number 1. This will give us a series of consecutive numbers in increments of 1. Click on the OK button, Suzanne. Notice how Works automatically inserted a consecutive account number for each record. You can use any starting number. The Fill Series command will then give you the next consecutive numbers in increments of 1, or whatever increment set you select in the Fill Series box. Now click on the first cell under the Fees header. The Mountain View Recreation Center charges a fee of $125 per child per soccer league. We'll enter this fee into everyone's record. Type in $125 into the first cell, then press your Enter key. Now click and drag from the 1st to the 5th cell in this column. Now pull down the Edit menu and select the Fill Down command. This automatically enters the data within the first cell into the other highlighted cells. This completes the data for this database. Suzanne, let's keep this database file separate from the one we created in the first lesson. Pull down the File menu and select the Save As command. In the Save As dialog box, select the appropriate letter for your floppy drive. Now click after the E in the soccer database title that appears in the name box. Press your spacebar key and then type the number 2. When you finish, click on the Save button. A warning message may appear. If it does, click on the No button. The title of our database now appears at the top of the document window. This database concerns itself with the soccer parents. Now, let's turn our attention to the stars of the league, the players. During the course of a soccer league, attempts are made on goal, goals are scored, and saves are made. Let's create a database that organizes this information so we can track each player's statistics. Player stats don't belong in a database dedicated to parents and their information. So let's create a separate database for the player statistics. Click on the Task Launcher button. When the Task Launcher appears on screen, click on the Works Tools tab and then on the Database button. In the field name box, type in F-name. We'll enter the players' first names in this field. Click on the Add button or press your Enter key. Then L-name. When you finish that, press your Enter key again. Repeat this process until you have fields for attempts, goals, percentage, saves, and total. When you finish typing in the total field, click on the Add button, then on the Done button. Suzanne, we are going to limit our statistics database to 10 players. The 5 players whose parents are members of the Mountain View Recreation Center, plus 5 others who live within the center's membership area but aren't members. We'll enter the members' children first. Suzanne, pull down the Windows menu and select the Soccer Database 2 file. Block the names that appear under the Child field heading. With the names highlighted, click on the Copy icon. We want to copy these names to our new database, so pull down the Windows menu and click on the file labeled Unsaved Database Number 1. With the statistics database on screen, make sure the first cell under the first name field is selected. Now click on the Paste icon or press your Ctrl and V keys together to paste the children's first names into the database. Pull down the Windows menu again. Then click on the Soccer Database 2 file once again. Block the entries under the last name field, then click on the Copy icon. Pull down the Windows menu and click on the file labeled Unsaved Database Number 1. Select the first cell under the last name field. Then click on the Paste icon. That completes the first 5 names. The second set of names are on screen now. Please enter each name into the appropriate field. Remember, enter only first names in the first name column and only last names in the last name column. When you finish entering Mary Monday's name, select the first cell under the Attempts field header. On screen are each player's attempts on goal. Type them in just as you see them. Pressing your down arrow key after each entry enters the number and moves you to the next record in the field. When you finish these entries, click on the first cell under the Goals field header. Then enter the goal data that appears on your screen. Pause or rewind the lesson to give yourself enough time to accomplish this task. We have one more set of stats to enter, and it's a short one. Under the Saves column, enter 37 in Axel's record. Then enter 42 in Mary's record. Now enter zeros in the other records. I know it may seem silly to do this, but databases are finicky creatures. If they don't see data in each field, they tend to trip up during sorting and query operations. Well, that completes our raw data. Now let's enter some formulas that will turn the data into something more useful. The Mountain View Recreation Center Soccer League assigns a point value for each attempt on goal, goal scored, or save. This incentive program encourages all players to take an active part in the game, not just those with exceptional athletic ability. Our first formula will calculate the total points of all our players, plus those of any new players we may enter later. First, click on the Total field header to highlight the entire column. We could create one formula in the first record, then copy that formula into the other records. However, by creating the formula while the entire column is selected, Works will automatically enter the formula into every row in this field. It will also make the proper cell reference adjustments, so the copied formulas will work properly. We'll use the formula bar located directly beneath the toolbar to build the formula. Suzanne placed the mouse pointer over the formula bar so it changes from a cross to an insertion marker. Once the insertion marker appears, click your left mouse button. The insertion marker is now positioned within the formula edit bar and is ready for us to start typing. Also, notice that 3 new icons appear on the formula bar. Clicking on the check mark enters the data or formula on the formula bar into the active cell. Clicking on the X cancels a new cell entry or any modifications to existing cell data. The question mark is the standard help function icon. All Works formulas begin with an equal sign, so type in an equal sign, Suzanne. Type in open parentheses. Then click on the Attempts field header. This tells Works to include each record's attempt data in our formula. We want to multiply this data by the point value of 5. An asterisk represents multiplication within a Works formula, so press your Shift and number 8 keys together to place an asterisk into the formula. Type in the number 5 for the attempt's point value, and then type a closed parentheses. That finishes the first part of the formula. Now type a plus sign, then an open parentheses. Click on the Goals field header. Type an asterisk and follow it with the number 10. Type a closed parentheses to complete the goals calculation. Type a plus sign, then an open parentheses. Click on the Saves field header, type an asterisk, then the number 6. Finish the formula by typing a closed parentheses. Viewers, take a close look at the formula. Be sure there are no spaces in it. When you create a formula that includes more than one operator, such as a plus sign or multiple symbol, Works follows standard algebraic rules to process the formula. In this formula, Works will calculate the values within the parentheses first, and then will add those values together. Suzanne, click on the check mark or press your Enter key to enter this formula into the total field. The formula works. It has calculated the total points for our soccer players. If we were to change a player's attempts, goals, or saves data, the formula would automatically recalculate the totals. Since the total formula is entered into every cell under the total heading, we can add new players and their stats to the database, and the total formula will automatically calculate their point total for us. Now, let's create a formula that will give us a player's attempts to goals percentage. Click on the percentage field header. Type an equal sign, then click on the Goals field header. We want to divide the goals scored by the attempts made, so type a /, the work symbol for division. Click on the Attempts field header. Then click on the check mark. We now have the shooting percentage of each player. Our new database is taking shape. We have created fields and formulas and entered records. Now let's try our hand at a little formatting. Suzanne, with the percentage field header selected, pull down the Format menu and click on the Field command. This dialog box allows us to rename this field, change its font and font attributes, its alignment, as well as apply shading and borders. Suzanne, I think the percentage symbol can suffice as the field title. Highlight the field name if it isn't already, then press your Shift and number 5 keys together to insert the percentage symbol. The Format commands on the left side of the Field tab dictate how our data appears within the percentage field. The default is General. It displays numbers as precisely as possible. However, it doesn't give us control over decimal places, dollar signs, or commas. The Numbers command does, so click on its radio button. Now click on the second choice listed in the Appearance window. Once done, check that the decimal places area displays the number 2. If it doesn't, use the increment arrows to find it. Click on OK. The numbers are limited to 2 decimal places. You'll also notice that the field name now appears as the percentage symbol.
What if I had included the original field name within a formula? Would that formula still reference the correct data?
Yes, it would, Suzanne. Anytime you change a field name, Works automatically changes any references to that field. With that said, let's finish our formatting. Click on the cell at the very top left of the data table. Any formats applied now will be applied to every cell in the database. Pull down the Format menu again. At the bottom of the menu is the Field Width command. Click on it. Field width is based on character spaces. Each letter, symbol, or space between letters is considered a character space. The actual size of a character space is based on the font and font size used in the database. For example, the field width for a 10-letter word in Times New Roman 16 point will appear wider than the same 10-letter word in Times New Roman 12 point. If we were to type a 12 in the entry box, Works would widen the cell width to 12 character spaces throughout the database file. Instead, we'll let Works pick a field width that best fits the data within our database. Double-click on the Best Fit button. There, the database looks more uniform. You'll notice that the field headers are still readable, but the excess space has been removed. Best Fit is a good format choice after you have entered all your records and are ready to print. Suzanne, click on one of the row headers to clear the highlight. Now click on the Attempts field header. Hold down your Shift key and click on the Total field header. Now pull down the Format menu and click on the Alignment option. Let's center align the data. Click on the Center Align Radio button listed in the horizontal alignment area. Then click on OK. There are many more ways to format and present data within a database. We'll see them when we create a report. But before we do that, let's look at the operations that make creating a database worthwhile. Databases aren't just used for supplying data for mail merges. They come in quite handy when you need to find specific information or to reorganize information. We'll start with a basic but important operation, sorting. To sort records is simply to arrange the records in our database according to a certain pattern. For example, we may sort or arrange the records within a database in postal code order for mailing purposes. Or we might sort those records by our parents' last names, which we can do, by the way, in ascending order or descending order. Sorts can also be based on numeric, alphabetic, or alphanumeric data. With the groundwork laid out, let's sort some records. Open the Record menu, Suzanne, and select the Sort Records command. The Sort Records dialog box allows us to specify the data fields for our sort. Viewers, a First-Time Help box may appear. If it does, click on OK to get to the Sort Records box. We can specify up to 3 fields for Works to sort at one time. The initial sorting is based on the data within the first field, which we designate in the first Sort By box. This field is commonly called the primary field. The second and third box in this dialog box allow us to further define a sort operation. Let's perform a simple sort first. Suzanne, click on the drop-down list next to the Sort By box. Let's sort the database using the data within the last name field. Click on that choice within the drop-down list. Now look at the option to the right of this entry box. Ascending order sorts items from the lowest order to highest. 1, 2, 3, ABC. Descending order sorts items from the highest to the lowest, 3, 2, 1, or CBA. Make sure the ascending button is selected. This will tell Works to sort the last names in alphabetic order. Click on OK. Look at the names in the last name field. They're in alphabetic order. You'll notice that each record remained intact. Katie Bryan has the same attempts, goals, saves, and total points as she did before the sort. Now let's perform a sort that contains a primary and a secondary sort. Before we do, take a mental picture of the database. Axel Donahue's record is just under Katie's. Pull down the Records menu and choose the Sort command again. Let's find out who had the highest point total in the league and get a list of scores from high to low. Pull down the list next to the Sort By box and click on Total. We want the highest point total to be first, so click on the descending radio button. That completes our primary sort instructions. Now pull down the scroll list next to the second sort box called Then By. Click on the last name title and make sure the ascending button is selected. During the sort, Works will sort the records in the total field first, then within the last name field. The secondary sort information can't override the first. Click on OK. Katie's record remained on top because she has the highest point total. Chris Franklin has the second highest point total, so his record appears under Katie's.
Professor, why aren't the last names in ascending order?
Remember, the primary field takes priority over the second or third sort fields. Works sorted the data within the total field first. This is the primary field. Then sorted the data within the last name field or secondary field. We have two players with the same point total of 175. Here's where the secondary sort comes in. Although Billy Smith has the same point total as Jordan Fowler, he is listed after Jordan because the first letter in his last name is further down the alphabet. Now that we know how to sort database information, let's look at the tools that help us find specific information. Suzanne, there are different ways to select specific information within a Works database. The easiest method uses the find command. No matter how large or small a database is, this command can be used to locate very specific information. Suzanne, let's have Works find all records in this database table that contain the last name Willis. We could easily find that record just by looking at this small database, but imagine how difficult it would be if we had 100 records instead of 10. To use the find command, we must select all the records in the database. There are several ways to select records, but the easiest method is to click on the header box just left of the first database field at the upper left of the database. Do that now, Suzanne. Once done, pull down the Edit menu and select the Find command. Now in the dialog box, type the criteria for this search, the name Willis. We want to search the entire database, so toggle on the All Records command, then click OK. Although there is only one record containing the name Willis, Works did select all the records matching the desired criteria.
Professor, what happened to my other records?
They're still in your database, Suzanne. Works displays the records that match our criteria and hides the records that do not match. The row numbers indicate which of our records match our criteria. Pull down the Record menu and select the Show Records command. Now click on the first choice within the submenu, All Records. Once again, we have 10 records displayed within the database. The Find command is great for finding simple criteria such as a single name. However, for more complicated searches, you'll want to use database filters. When we apply a filter to a database, we are asking Works to filter out all records that do not match our criteria and to show only the records that do. Suzanne, let's search our database for those players who have scored at least 10 goals and have better than a 65 scoring percentage. Click on the filters icon near the right end of the toolbar. It has a picture of 3 stacked pages with a question mark on the top page. You can also find this command under the Tools menu. Since we have not used the filter command before, a small new filter box appears requesting a name for this new filter. Let's call it On Target. Click on OK. A filter is composed of 1 to 5 separate sets of criteria. Each set is composed of a selected field, a comparison operator, and the criteria to compare to. The first set of criteria we'll enter will filter the database for those players with at least 10 goals scored during the season. Pull down the first field name scroll list. Scroll down to the Goals field title and select it. Now pull down the Comparison column's top scroll list. We want those records that have 10 or more goals, so click on the line that reads, is greater than or equal to. Then enter in the Compare To box the number 10. So far we have told Works to select the player records that have the number 10 or higher in their Goals field. Of these records, we want Works to filter out any players that have less than a 65% shooting percentage. Pull down the second field named Scroll List. We want the percentage field, so click on the percentage symbol. Pull down the comparison operator scroll list. Then click on the Is Greater Than line. In the Compare To box, enter 0.65. This represents 65% in our database. Before we apply this filter, I want everyone to look at the Logic Operator box that appears between the two criteria sets. Click on its drop-down list, Suzanne. The word AND as well as OR are both Boolean logic operators. In layman's terms, the AND logic operator tells Works to select only those records that meet both sets of criteria. If we were to choose the OR operator, then Works would select records that contain either criteria, not just both. The AND operator is the more precise filter option. Make sure it is selected. To activate the filter and perform the search, click on the Apply Filter button. It's at the bottom right of this dialog box. Here we are. Works has found 4 records that match our filter criteria. Records 1, 2, 6, and 9. Katie, Chris, Sean, and Billy meet both criteria, scoring 10 or more goals and having a shooting percentage of over 65%. Let's see what happens when we use the OR logic operator. Suzanne, click on the Filters button again. The On Target filter is still active. Pull down the first logic operator box and select the OR operator. Then click on the Apply button again. The database now displays 6 records. Brandon and Audrey's records don't meet both sets of criteria, but they do meet at least one set. Each has scored more than 10 goals. Filters are attached to the database in which they are created, and they can be applied to that database at any time. Whenever we repeat a specific filter application, Works will automatically include new records added since the last time the filter was used. Filters can be renamed, deleted from the database, or created within the Filter dialog box. Suzanne opened the Record menu. Without clicking on it, highlight the Apply Filter option at the bottom of the menu. It opens a submenu that lists the filters created in this database. To apply a filter, one only needs to click on its title. We don't need to do that here, so click on the Show command and select the All Records option. Suzanne, click on the Save icon. Now save this file to your floppy disk under the name SoccerData-Kids. When you have that information entered, click on the Save button. After creating a database and entering information in it, we can create reports to display that information in a printed form that is easily read and interpreted by others. Reports can be created before or after applying database filters. If the report is created before any filters are applied, then every record is available to us. However, if you apply a filter before printing, we are limited to the records that match that filter's criteria. Suzanne, pull down the Tools menu and select the Report Creator command. A small report name box pops up. Type League Stars into the title box and then click on OK. The first tab on the Report Creator dialog box allows us to set the page orientation plus font type and size. We'll leave them as they are. Click on the Fields tab. Within this tab, we select which fields we want included in the report and in what order they should appear. We could elect to omit the percentage field from the report or have the last names appear before first names. Our fields are in logical order, and we want the report to represent all the database fields, so click on the Add All button. Now make sure the Show Field Names at top of each page option is toggled on. Click on the Sorting tab. Pull down the Sort By list and select the percentage field. Then toggle on the Descending Order radio button. Now click on the Grouping tab. Make the When Contents Change option active. This option tells Works to update the report if something changes in the database. Click on the Filters tab. Once again, we have the option of selecting specific records. All we need to do is select a filter from the list. If we were to select the On Target filter, our report would contain only those records that match the filter. Selecting a filter overrides a sort operation such as our percentage sort. We want to see our record in this sort, so we'll skip applying a filter. Click on the Next button. The summary options allow us to have basic statistical calculations applied to the data selected from this report. Suzanne, click on the Attempts title and then click on the Statistics Sum option. When you finish, click on Goals and then on the Sum option again. We want the average shooting percentage for our soccer kids, so click on the percentage symbol and then click on the Average option. Choose Saves and then click on the Sum option. Repeat the process so Works will sum the children's point totals together. Now toggle off the Show Summary Name option. In the Display Summary Information box in the lower left-hand corner, toggle on the Under Each Column and At the End of the Report options. This tells Works where to place our sum and average figures. Click on Done to finish the report. What you see before you is the Report Definition table. This form, created from our instructions, tells Works how to format our report. Click on the Preview button so we can see what our report looks like. Once the preview screen appears, position the mouse pointer on the text of the report. Then click it twice to magnify the report. Use the scroll bars to bring different areas of the report into view. Looks good. The players are listed in descending order according to their shooting percentage. We now have the players' totals for attempts, goals, and points. The report also averages the group's shooting percentage. Suzanne, click on the Cancel button. Now click on the last cell header that has the word Summary on it. Then click on the boldface button to bold the Totals line. The report title is too far over to the right, so let's move it over. Click on the first cell under column E, and then click on the Cut button. Now select the top left cell in the Report Definition table. With that done, click on the Paste button. Now block the cells in the first row that are underneath the column headings A to G. With that cell range selected, pull down the Format menu and select the Alignment command. Within the dialog box, click on the Center Across Selection option and then click on the OK button. The report's title is now centered between columns A to G. While we are here, let's add a header to our report. Open the View menu and select the Headers and Footers command. In the Headers text box, type Mountain View Recreation Center. A dash, and the word Soccer. We don't need a footer, so leave that area blank. Click OK. Let's see how this new formatting looks. Click on the Print Preview button again. Everything looks great. Applying simple formats to a report is easy, but major modifications aren't worth the trouble. It is easier to build another report. Click on the Cancel button. Now click on the Printer button. It is located right of the Save button. This toolbar button bypasses the printer dialog box and sends the entire document to your printer. Pull down the View menu and select the List option. Once done, click on the Save icon to save these latest changes to disk. Suzanne, in this section, we've learned an impressive set of database skills. Now, let's turn our attention to another powerful Works application, the spreadsheet. The Works spreadsheet can be used for many types of business calculations, from creating budgets to sales forecast and inventory and control models, and it is simple to use. In this lesson, we'll use the Works spreadsheet to keep track of the account balances of Mountain View Recreation Center members and the monthly revenue of the center. Click on the Task Launcher button. If the Tools tab isn't already selected, click on it. Now click on the Spreadsheet button. The spreadsheet looks very similar to the database we just worked in. Both have similar capabilities. We can perform calculations in the database and perform some database operations in the spreadsheet. However, the database is the best tool for sorting and selecting data, whereas the spreadsheet, as we will see, is the best tool for writing formulas and doing what-if analysis. When we opened the spreadsheet application window, the toolbar changed slightly to accommodate specific spreadsheet tools. These are on the right side of the toolbar. The work spreadsheet consists of columns and rows. The letters of the alphabet are now the column labels, and the numbers down the left side are row numbers. Works uses the letters and numbers to identify the location of a single cell or the location of a range of cells. The location of data in a spreadsheet is referred to as the cell address or cell range. This address is displayed on the far left side of the formula bar. Right now the cell address is cell A1. This is referred to at times as the home cell. Now, Suzanne, click and drag your mouse pointer from cell A1 to cell C7. The display changes to indicate the selected cells. When we have cells grouped together like this, it is called a cell range. Let's set up a title in our spreadsheet. Suzanne, click cell A1 and type in uppercase letters, account balances and monthly receipts. Then press the Enter key. In spreadsheet terms, our title is called a label. Labels are any combination of words, numbers, or symbols used for data identification, but not used for calculations. Now that we have a title, let's add some labels to identify the information we're about to enter into this spreadsheet. Suzanne, click on cell A3 and type the abbreviation for account number, ACCT, a space, and the number symbol. Tab over to cell B3 and type the letter F, followed by a hyphen, then the word name. This is where we'll enter a client's first name. Tab to cell C3 and enter the letter L, followed by a hyphen, then the word name again. You guessed it, client last names will be entered here. Tab again and type the word dues. We'll enter the yearly membership dues here. Tab again and enter the word fees. The numbers entered in this column represent the league fees, such as our soccer league, that each parent must pay above the regular membership fee of $475. Let's continue by placing labels for the months representing the third quarter of this year. We will place July, August, and September on the same row as the labels we just created. In cell F3, type in July. Now move your mouse pointer to the bottom right of this cell. Once the pointer turns into a cross symbol with the word fill over it, click your left mouse button and drag the outline to cell H3. This mouse pointer is called the fill handle. In this instance, it performs the same task as the edit menu's fill series command. It gives us a series based on the data within the active cell. Use your horizontal scroll bar to move cell I3 into view. Now, in cell I3, type balance. Press your Enter key. Now that we have designed the basic structure for our spreadsheet, let's save it to floppy disk. Click on the Save button. Since we haven't named this file yet, we are given the Save As dialog box. Make sure your floppy disk drive location is selected. In the file name box, enter MVRC Spreadsheet as the file name. Click on the Save button to complete the Save As process. Now we'll copy information that we created in our database, then paste it into our spreadsheet. Suzanne, open the window menu and select the Soccer Database 2 file. It should be the first file listed. Use your scroll bar to bring the account numbers into view. Then click and drag from the first cell under that field to the last field entry in the last name field. With the mouse pointer in the blocked cell range, click your right mouse button. This opens the Works shortcut menu. Click on the Copy command. Now pull down the Windows menu and then select the spreadsheet file. Move cell A4 into view. Now click on cell A4 and then click on the Paste icon. Great! Works has pasted our clients' names and account numbers into the spreadsheet. Our account numbers and names are correct. However, our copy included the salutations for each client. We don't need these in the spreadsheet, so click and drag from cell B4 to B8. Now press the delete key to remove these entries. Once that's done, click and drag from cell C4 to D8 to mark the first and last names. Now move your mouse pointer on the bottom line of this range until the word drag appears. When it does, click your left mouse button and drag the cell range to the left one column. This is the mouse move handle. Release the mouse button when the data is in place. Our client's first and last names now appear in the correct column. Click on the Save button to save these latest entries to disk. To belong to the Mountain View Recreation Center, each member must pay annual dues of $475. We're going to assume that the center's fiscal year begins July 1, so as of that date, our members are charged $475. Click on cell D4 and enter $475. Now use the mouse fill handle to enter that number into cells D5 to D8. You'll notice that the fill handle made copies of our data, instead of creating a series based on the data like it did with the month labels. If the initial cell contains a label that the fill handle can turn into a logic series, it will. Keep in mind that the labels are composed of alphabetic or alphanumeric information. However, if the cell contains just numeric information, the fill handle makes exact copies of that data and places those copies into the highlighted cells. Suzanne, before we add any more data to our spreadsheet, let's add some formulas. Let's have Works automatically add the total payments received for the month of July. And to do that, we need to enter a spreadsheet formula. A formula is an equation that calculates a new value from existing values. We can create our own formulas or use one of Works' pre-made formulas called functions. Suzanne, highlight the cell directly beneath the last account in the dues column. That's it, cell D9. All the payments figures are in adjacent cells, so we can use the Works AutoSum function formula to add their contents together. The spreadsheet toolbar has a button dedicated to this function formula. It has a sigma sign on it and is left of the $sign icon. Click on that button, Suzanne. The AutoSum function formula now appears in cell D9 and on the formula bar. Any function formula has three parts, which are shown here. First comes the equal sign. It tells Works that a formula is being used. Second is the name of the function, sum in this case. And finally, most functions include a list of arguments. Arguments are the variables in a formula that indicate which cells or cell range are to be used in calculations. The list of variables in this formula are cells D4 through D8. These are the cells we want calculated, so click on the formula bar check mark or press your enter key. The function worked. We now have a total of $2,375 as the total membership dues billed to the Rec Center members. Suzanne, let's copy the sum function into the cells to the right of this total. With cell D9 already selected, use the fill handle to copy that formula into cells E9 to I9. While the fill handle was creating and pasting copies, Works did something extra for us behind the scenes. Look at the edit area on the formula bar. It currently displays our sum function with the column D cell variables. Keep your eye on the formula bar as you press the right arrow key to select cell E9. The formula now references cells in column E. Whenever you use the fill handle or the copy and paste commands to copy formulas, Works automatically adjusts the cell addresses in each copy of the formula or function to correspond with its new location within the spreadsheet. Suzanne, click on cell E4. Type 125 into this cell and then use the fill handle to enter that dollar amount into cells E5 to E8. You'll remember from the first part of this lesson that this is the fee parents must pay to have their children participate in the Mountain View Soccer Leagues. Look, the formula works because the fees total of $625 is the correct answer for the sum of 5 times 125. Suzanne, let's change the zoom view so we can see more of the fields at once. Go to the View menu and select the Zoom command. Now type 83% in the Custom Edit window. Press your Enter key. Now let's create our own formula to calculate the outstanding balance for each account. Highlight the cell directly beneath the balance label I-4. Suzanne, type an equal sign. Remember, all formulas begin this way. Now use the mouse pointer to select D4. This cell contains the first client's initial membership charge. We want to add the league fees and the membership dues together, so type a plus sign and then click on cell E4. We want to subtract the payments made in July, August, and September from this dollar amount, so type a minus sign.
Professor, why isn't this formula following the same structure as the sum function formula?
Manually created formulas aren't required to follow the same structure as function formulas. They can, but it isn't necessary. Works does not offer a predefined function formula for this balance calculation, so we must create it ourselves. With that said, let's finish our formula. Either click on cell F4 or type the cell address F4. Follow that cell address by typing a minus sign and then click on cell G4. Follow that cell address by typing a minus sign and then clicking on cell H4 as the last cell address. Viewers, when your formula looks like Suzanne's, press your Enter key. Look, our formula works. We haven't entered any payments yet, so the total reflects the membership dues of $425 plus the $125 league fees. We could copy this formula down into the other balance cells and our client balances would be properly calculated. Instead, I want to show you another way to write this formula. Then we'll copy that formula down. First, select cell I5. Type in an equal sign. Now type in the cell's address D5, the dues amount for Sarah Jones. Type a plus sign and then type in the cell address E5. Type in a minus sign. Now we need to describe which cells we want subtracted from the dues amount, so after the minus sign, type in uppercase letters the function formula name sum. We can use a function within another formula. Type a left-hand parentheses and then the first cell to add, F5. Follow that cell address by typing a colon and then the cell address H5. Complete the formula by typing a closed parentheses. Now press the Enter key. This formula also works. It too gives us a product of $600. As you can see, functions can be used by themselves or within formulas, the combinations of which are limited only to your imagination and math aptitude. Everyone use the fill handle to copy this formula into the remaining 3 cells. Remember, we can also use the fill right, fill down, or copy and paste commands to copy a formula into adjacent cells. Suzanne, let's enter the payment history for each member. Mr. Smith has paid the Rec Center $100 in July toward his total balance of $600. Type $100 in the cell directly beneath July in cell F4. Before you press your Enter key, look at the results that appear in cells F9, I4, and I9. Keep your eye on these cells as you press your Enter key. Did you notice that as soon as the data was entered into cell F4, Works automatically calculated new totals? Mr. Smith's individual total changed to reflect the $100 payment. The balance total is $100 less, and we now have a balance of $100 in July's total cell. Now enter $150 into cell F4. Once again, we are given new totals. This illustrates the real power of electronic spreadsheets, the ability to perform what-if analysis. When we put in different numbers and test various models for their answers, the process is called what-if analysis. You can construct a spreadsheet for the sole purpose of making projections. Once it's complete, you can enter hard data or projected figures. This is a powerful decision-making tool for many areas of business and personal finance management. Suzanne, let's reverse our last entry. Press your Control and Z keys together. This selects the Undo Entry command. Let's also assume Mr. Smith will continue to pay $100 per month for August and September. Use the fill handle to enter that amount into cells G4 to H4. For Sarah Jones' account, enter $25 in cell F5. Enter $35 for August. And then enter $45 in cell H5. Mike Sullivan paid $45 in July, but hasn't paid anything since. Tom Willis paid $50 towards his balance in each month, so enter $50 in cell F7. Then use the fill handle to enter that dollar amount into the other cells. Finally, enter $30 in each month for Danielle Donahue. Use either the mouse fill handle or the fill right command. Suzanne, that completes our data entry. Now let's perform some cosmetic surgery on the spreadsheet. Applying formats is essentially the same process in all the Works applets. However, there are special issues that must be addressed when you apply formats within a database or spreadsheet file. You may have noticed that our title label exceeds the cell width in which it is entered. When this occurs, we call the label a long label. Suzanne, click on the highlight box located in the upper left-hand corner of the spreadsheet. Now pull down the Format menu and select the Column Width command. When the column width box opens, double-click on the Best Fit button. That looks a little strange, doesn't it? The Best Fit command accommodates the longest entry in the column, so it widens to accept our spreadsheet title label. Everyone move your mouse pointer to the line that divides column header A and header B. When the Adjust Mouse Pointer shape appears, click and drag your mouse left. Release the mouse button when the perforated adjusting line is about 3/4 inches from the row headers. That looks better. While we have the spreadsheet highlighted, click on the Center Alignment button. Works has centered all of our cell entries, but once again the spreadsheet documentation label is giving us problems. There are no cells to the left for the document text to flow into, so we must either resize the column or change its alignment. Let's change that label's alignment without disturbing the other data in column A. Click on the row 1 header to deselect the highlight. Then highlight cells A1 to I1. Pull down the Format menu and select the Alignment command. Now toggle on the Center Across Selection option that appears within the Horizontal Options area. Click on OK or press your Enter key to center align our spreadsheet title across the highlighted cells. Let's apply some more formats. Click on the Boldface button. Now click on the Row 3 header. And then click on the Boldface button. Suzanne used the Adjust arrow to widen column H. Our boldface format made the September label too wide for its cell width. When you finish that, highlight cells D9 to I9. Move your mouse pointer back into the highlighted cell area and click your right mouse button. Now select the alignment option that appears at the bottom of the shortcut menu. When the Formats dialog box appears, click on the Numbers tab. We want dollar signs to come before our totals. The general cell format doesn't do this for us. However, the currency format does. It is the third choice down the list. Toggle that option on. The sample shows how the format affects cell data. This option also allows us to dictate how many decimals are to be displayed. Check that you have the number 2 displayed in the decimal places entry box. Now click on the Font tab. Toggle on the bold option that appears on the left side of this tab. When you finish, click on the Borders tab. In the border area, click on the box next to the option labeled Outline. Make sure Auto is selected in the color area, and then click on the third box that appears at the top of the line area. Now click on the OK button. Let's apply the same formats to the individual totals. Highlight cells I4 to I8. Use your right mouse button to open the shortcut menu and then click on the Format option. The Numbers tab should be active, so toggle on the Currency option. Click on the Font tab and then toggle on the Bold option. Now click on the Borders tab and then select the same 3 options we chose earlier: Outline, Auto, and the third line Thickness box. Let's add another touch. Click on the Shading tab. Now click on the 4th option that appears in the shading area. If you see 20% on the description line, You have made the correct choice. Now click on the OK button. Not bad, but once again we must widen a few of the columns to accommodate the boldface format. Highlight column headings D to I. Pull down the Format menu and select the Column Width option. Now double-click on the Best Fit option. With that done, click on the Print Preview button. Uh-oh, the total column doesn't show this preview, which means it won't be printed. But unfortunately, we've run out of time. So we'll tackle this problem at the beginning of my third lesson. Click on the Cancel button. Now click on the Save button to save these latest changes to disk. Suzanne, that completes our second lesson on Works version 4.0 for Windows. Thanks for being such a good student.